What is going on, everyone? Welcome to the Tell Me More podcast presented by the Real Estate Cheat Code. And I'm excited to have this guest on. I do not know Jim very well just from social media, but we have Jim Ross with us with the NextGen home group at Red One Realty. And we were kind of just chatting a little bit beforehand. And the reason why I'm excited is because I told him, I said, I think you're the only agent I've had on here that has truly kind of went after and dominated the listing side of the game. And I'm excited to learn a little bit more about your journey, how you got into the business and how you built your business. So Jim, thanks so much for jumping on here and sharing your story.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for having me on. I am a fan and follower of yours as well. So I'm excited to chat.
Awesome. So Jim, what we do here on the Tell Me More podcast, and the whole goal of this is to show agents out there across the country that we all come from different walks of life. We all have different career paths to get to this moment, and we all have built our business differently to have success. And obviously, the word success gets thrown around a lot. The word top agent gets thrown around a lot. And, I'm a big believer that it's your definition, right? But what we do is we always start from the very beginning here. And I want to know, what was life like for you growing up as a child?
Oh yeah, going way back. Okay. I'm from Dayton, Ohio originally, a suburb called Beaver Creek, and I'd say I had a pretty standard childhood, but definitely blue collar. My dad worked for General Motors on the assembly line. My mom was a nurse, so growing up pretty standard blue collar childhood for sure. I actually worked at General Motors myself. My dad made me work there because he knew that it would start to instill a strong work ethic and get me to the point where I understood what it's like to work hard, what it takes to earn a buck, and things aren't given to you. So I was on that assembly line myself at one point. But yeah, Dayton, Ohio, and ended up in Columbus after college, shortly after college.
I would say, in high school and stuff, what did you go to college for? Where did you end up going to college? What were you kind of focusing on?
Yeah, I went to Miami of Ohio. I graduated in '05. My major in college was in finance, and I actually started to get a little bit of taste of real estate when I was in college. So there were we had to take some specialized classes to. It wasn't a minor, but it was kind of like a minor, and I decided that I wanted to take the real estate classes. So I actually took I think I took I think I actually took my real estate classes in college, and it started just give me. I had no plans of getting into real estate. So this is again 2005, or between 2001 and 2005. Never had any plans to get into real estate as a career, but just always kind of had an interest in it, kind of back in my mind. Oh, wouldn't that be cool to do that? And took those classes, and then ended up being able to get my license. Once I graduated, I got recruited actually to a mortgage broker. So I started out my journey there after college as a working mostly doing refis. So this is like the refi boom. This is pre-mortgage crisis, pre-bubble, and um, realized that I just wasn't mature enough to be in a 100% sales position. And um, while I was working as a loan officer, so I had my loan officer's license, and then I ended up meeting some other guys that were working in real estate with a wholesaling company. I had no clue what wholesaling was, and I have a very good understanding of it now. But at the time, I had no clue what it was. But basically, investors or agents that were trying to find real estate opportunities, put them under contract, and then sell their contractual interest to an end buyer. And as I got to know them more and learn more about their business, they ended up recruiting me over to that company. So in 2005, I actually had my loan officer's license. This not many people know this because I've been when I tell people I've been licensed since 2015. But actually, what most people don't know is that back in 2005, 2006, I had my loan officer's license and I had my real estate license.
Mm.
And so at the time, I was working in Cincinnati, and I worked for a wholesaler and that wholesaling company, the owner of it also owned a hard money lending company. So I was working for a brokerage that would identify investment opportunities. Then it would connect those opportunities to an investor, and then also I had contacts with contractors, and I basically was that point of contact for the entire process. Oh,
Yeah.
and I could do the hard money loan for them as well. So it was kind of a one-stop shop for investors to be able to find a property, get it fixed, get it financed, and get it sold. And so I was working there for a while as a licensed loan officer, as a licensed real estate agent, and ultimately still realized that I just wasn't ready for a 100% commission full-time sales job, even being out of college. So I'm not an 18-year-old kid, but I realized I just wasn't mature enough, and I ended up not wasn't a fit for me at the time.
Yeah.
So I was living in Dayton, working in Cincinnati, and then I was hanging out in Columbus every single weekend. So what ended up happening is I ended up getting an offer at a corporate job here in Columbus. And I'm like, okay, 401k, health benefits, salary, I'm out. So I took that corporate job. That was in 2000. That was probably in 2006, and I moved to Columbus. So at that time, I was not focused on real estate whatsoever. So I didn't keep up with my continuing ed. I didn't renew. I didn't pay my dues. So eventually, my license was suspended, of course. And then because I still did not keep up with it, my license was revoked. So I had a real estate license that was revoked back in like 2006 ish. So when I went to get relicensed in 2015, luckily all my coursework was still good from college. It was
Mm.
just about to expire, so I was able to retake my coursework was good. So I was able to sit for the exam. So I basically took the crammer, got ready for the test, took the test, and got relicensed.
Awesome.
But I tell people I got licensed in 2015.
Yeah. I mean, was there anyone in your family that was into the real estate space prior to, or is it just you needed to fulfill some of those requirements for your degree, and that was kind of the best choice, that seemed the most interested at the time?
Really no familial history or connections to real estate, other than my dad was about the handiest person that I knew, and he was always upgrading our house. Like he was a
Yeah.
DIYer, versus like me. I am the complete opposite of DIY. But so I got exposure to it in that sense, from almost from an investing standpoint. Like, how do you
Yeah.
take something and put some sweat equity into it and improve its value over time? So but no family connections to real estate. I just really always thought it was interesting. But back in 2004, 2005, you didn't have the same type of real estate exposure within the media that we do
Mhm.
now.
Mhm.
So you look at the shows that are on now, the reality shows that show the glamour of being in real estate and flipping houses, and we didn't have that back then, but it still did catch my eye. It was still something that was just very interesting to me.
Yeah. What is something that you learned or took away from that experience in '05 as an LO, and as, someone working with the wholesale side of real estate?
Well, I did learn quickly that real estate is a sales job, and the product that you're selling, people think, oh, you're selling houses. No, you're really selling you. So I did realize that it is something that is hard work. It is a sales position, so you have to build sales skills in order to be successful at it. And that's where I just think I wasn't really just at a point in my life where I was able to handle the stressors of a 100% commission job. But it is
Yeah.
a sales position, and that's what I think a lot of folks that get into real estate still don't necessarily have that expectation yet, or they don't have that understanding when they're getting into it, because of a lot of the the way that real estate's portrayed in the media.
Yeah. And I think too, you went into two sectors of real estate to where you probably have to be more on point and salesy. I hate using the word salesy.
Hmm.
With lending because you get shopped around, right? As a loan officer, you get shopped for best rate programs, all of those things. And then also from the wholesale world of, talking to a homeowner and explaining to them why you have the right solutions and things for them in order to help them with their real estate goals, right? Whereas like I built my business on buyers.
Hmm.
2011, 12, 13, 14 were really I was buy side heavy to the point of my first 3 years in the business. I don't think I ever took on a listing. It was just how our team was set up. And for me, I always felt that that was a lot easier for me to build a relationship with someone. I didn't have to be as salesy, right? But you still
Sure.
had to have the sales skills, right? The communication skills, how to articulate, why this is still a great time to buy, especially back then, why that's a great time to buy a home after they may have experienced a short sale 3 years ago, or a foreclosure, or a bankruptcy, or anything along those lines. So I think you probably cut your teeth in probably two of the hardest parts of the real estate industry.
Yeah. Yeah, it's in the investing world back then. It was also very cutthroat, so it was also just not something that I was built for. I'm still
Mhm.
not built for that kind of environment where it's every person for themselves, and the if I have to step over you to get it at that business that you're going after as well, then so be it. So that wasn't really an environment that I was going to thrive in, and I still won't thrive in that environment. So that was another reason it just ended up not being a fit for me at the time. But
Yeah,
it really did. It molded where I would eventually why I eventually got back into real estate, down the road. So I'm still
yeah.
still thankful for the experience.
Oh, for sure. It's funny because I have a lot of successful agents on here, and a lot of times we don't actually take time to do the reflection. Usually, there's
Mhm.
always a point in someone's life or career path where it's had a huge impact on their real estate business. And I'm sure we're definitely going to touch on when you got back into it. But that was probably a moment, right? You probably learned a lot of different skills. I mean, I always tell people like wholesaling, those are some of the best marketers. Those are some of the
Mhm.
best people with the best phone skills, right? The best presentation skills, because it's just a numbers game, right? I mean, it's a numbers game, and anyways, so you and I wanted to touch on this too. You mentioned that you didn't feel like you were mature enough for the sales, 100% commission based. What was it? Was it just because of not understanding the time invested that was needed in order to have success? Was it the fast money? Because I always tell people why are most salespeople broke is because that actually is what motivates them to go out and keep selling, right?
Yep.
They sell, they spend the money, then they go sell again, spend the money. And so for you, what was it? If you could put some, your finger on it, what was it for you?
I think I probably wasn't plugged into the right systems would be one
Yeah,
thing where I didn't have this is just like the crazy height of the market back then,
yeah,
and it's just get in and go and you'll make money doing it. So I don't know if I had the best support system, training system. I know this is an embarrassing story, but I'll tell you anyway. uh, so I remember when I was on the loan officer side, and you were given just doing cold calling, trying to identify folks that you might be able to help with a refinance. So how can we do a refi and use the equity in your home to pay off high interest debt, consolidations, all that stuff? And I would have these long lists just like plop on your desk. Here's 1,000 people to just start calling, and that's kind of what it was. Like, here you go, start calling these people. But the list, I would I'd be going through it, and there was really not a lot of training involved. It was just like get on the phone and start doing it. And I there was these names that kept popping up over and over, and I was so confused. The name was JOS, and there's also one that was JAS. And what I didn't realize at the time that nobody told me is that was an abbreviation for Joseph, or an abbreviation for James. So I'm calling like all these people. I'm like, is Yas home? Can I speak to Yas? Can I speak to Yos? And so I was really just kind of thrown into it. And when you don't have the right support systems around you, and you're a young person right out of college that you don't know what you don't know, you haven't really experienced life just yet. I think I didn't get the traction I thought I would. I was actually fairly successful for what it was, but it ended up just being an environment that I wasn't going to thrive in. And
Yeah.
so I think that the training aspect, it was just such a crazy time in the real estate and lending markets that I probably just was ill prepared for it.
Yeah. I think that's part of my passion is to impact the failure rate, and a lot of times I believe, and I don't know what your belief is, but I believe every brand new agent should go and join a team for at least 6 months to 12 months. And
100%
even that's
agree.
not going to solve all of the problems in our industry, but I think that will at least help, some of
Yep.
those problems. And, the environment is so key. And that's why I love helping newer agents. It's because I didn't necessarily have the negative experience. I got fortunate and lucky that I had someone that poured into me with all of the trainings and the systems and, the money and the capital to put me in a position to hit the ground running. And environment and your mentors and who you're around, it truly does matter. And I just think about all of those potential agents that had all of the potential or would be great in real estate, but they just started off on the wrong foot, just
Sure.
because they don't know, right? That's the other thing they don't teach us in school is like, how do I know who is the right fit for me? What do I need to look for, and choosing a brokerage or a team or going out on my own or startup capital or whatever the case may be. But that's a whole nother conversation for another day. But so Jim, so 2005, you're doing that. You're like, hey, this probably isn't really for me at this point in my career. Come to Columbus, you get a corporate job. Um, were you in that career all the way up until 2015 when you decided to get relicensed?
I was. So I was working at Abercrombie and Fitch corporate in New Albany, and I started there in 2006. I left in 2015, and I actually loved every minute of it. It was a very vibrant culture, and work hard, play hard, surrounded by a lot of like-minded people that were, roughly my same age, same, I made a lot of friends there. So I had a blast, but ultimately realized that it was not going to be a long-term fit for me. And if I was going to stay in corporate retail, I would have stayed at Abercrombie. But ultimately realized that the corporate life in general just wasn't gonna work for me. And that's I have a vivid memory of when all of that changed. It was because I met my wife there as well, so she was working there, and in 2013 we got married. So I actually just celebrated my 10-year anniversary this past September, and
Congratulations.
thank you. But what we went on our honeymoon, and when I came back from our honeymoon, we had just got married, so we were now going to start talking about family planning and things like that. And something just changed in me. I don't really know how to explain it, but I can only describe it as something switched in my brain, where
Mm.
all of a sudden everything that I focused on was how do I support a family? How do we start a family? How do we grow as a family? That's all I focused on. And what I realized was I'd love to be in the position where Audrey, my wife, wasn't. She would. I'd be able to give her the opportunity, if she wanted it, to stay at home with our then non-existent kids. And so as we started to go through that planning process, my priorities changed, my focus shifted, and I really wanted to figure out, is this the long-term fit for me, or do I want to try to move to something a little bit more entrepreneurial that doesn't have an income ceiling, that gives
Mhm.
me flexibility? And so that's ultimately why I landed back on real estate. There's some other things that pulled me back to it as well, and ultimately decided from there that I wanted to be a real estate investor. Is really what it boiled down to. I knew from my wholesaling experience in the past and just my limited time of being a licensed agent, I knew that I liked the industry. And from an investing side, I knew how an investor thinks. I know how they acquire a property. I know how they analyze it up front. I know how they estimate a rehab. I know how they figure out what's going to be worth on the back end. And so I knew their process start to finish. So I'm like, I could do that too. I mean, I was helping people do it as a
Yeah.
wholesaler, so I can do it myself. So I wanted to be a real estate investor and build a business around that. I didn't actually intend to be a traditional retail agent,
Mhm.
but I wanted to get licensed because every investor should be licensed as well, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to be licensed to have MLS access, to build my network, to be able to get paid referral fees, things like that. And but that's what drove me back to getting my license. And I decided that when I first got back into the business, I joined a team. So that I also agree with you that every new agent should be on a team, at least for the first part of their career. And ultimately, I think they'll find that the value that the team provides to you is going to far outweigh being a solo agent. So I think it's you see a lot of people that stay on teams until they want to go start their own team,
Yeah.
and that's definitely a great path to take. But I got licensed, I joined a team. Ultimately, I decided that I kind of like being an agent, and my first go around being licensed, I basically did zero retail. I wasn't working with a traditional buyer and seller. It was just on the investment side, working for a wholesaling company. This second time around, I took the more traditional path, and I decided that I want to be a traditional agent, but I'm going to start to build out a niche of working with investors.
Mhm.
And so I started out, cutting my teeth working with buyers as well. I was not getting a bunch of listings right away,
Yeah.
but I ultimately my vision for building my business as an agent, because we're all business owners as agents. So the business that I wanted to build, keeping my family priorities and goals in mind, was that I didn't want to work a corporate job, then replace that corporate job with something that is nights and weekends, when I was hoping to be around my still non-existent family. Now we have two daughters, a 5-year-old and a 7-year-old. Actually, there's a picture of them right there. So I knew that working with buyers was going to be that's a nights and weekends job. This
Yeah.
is all pre-COVID, of course. Now schedules are very a lot more flexible, but at the time, working with buyers was a nights and weekends gig, and you're working around their schedule, which that's the name of the game, and you need to be available for those buyers.
Yeah.
So I wanted to take an approach of, I want to work with buyers still, but I really want to focus on, how do I become I want to be a listing focused agent and an investor focused agent.
Mm.
Because in my mind, an investor that's building a business as well, they are going to be working during the day. So if I'm going to go walk a property, if I'm going to go on a listing appointment, if I'm going to be, boots on the ground, that's going to be during the day. So we'll call it a 9 to 5. People also say they get into real estate for the flexibility
Yeah.
and the hours. I can tell you, I work way more than I did in my corporate job, and it is the flexibility that you are getting into the industry for. It's if you're really treating it like a business, it can be flexible, but it's not always what you think it is. So my
Yeah.
time I work a lot more during the week, but it's spread out so differently from a corporate structure that it doesn't feel like I'm working as much. And then you
Yeah.
still make time to carve out the things that are priorities and outside of your business. But that was really my focus, is how do I start to work with investors, because I saw that more as a 9 to 5 gig, and I'd be home nights and weekends because investors are going to be home nights and weekends. They're not going to be wanting to meet with me. So I felt it was a path I could take to build something that is sustainable, repeatable. If I can maintain relationships with investor clients that are flipping homes and I can list those homes for them, then it would be a steady stream of listings for me. So ultimately, that's why I got back into the business and became a listing and investor focused agent.
Let me ask you this. Were you scared to go that narrow with your business approach?
Oh, I'm still scared. Yes.
Well, I
Yeah.
bring it up because, a lot of people, and I think this is why it probably works for you. And this is what I personally coach a lot of agents on, is that is your passion, or that is in alignment with your personality, right? So like, even though you may be working more, it probably isn't draining energy from you, right? It's probably
Yeah.
actually giving you energy because you're doing real estate in alignment with who you are and a passion that you have around it. And this is why I love having just agents on here. I got tired of hearing like top listing agent this, or top, direct mail campaign agent that, or whatever, right? Like, to me, it all works, you
Mhm.
know? And I think the difference where some agents struggle is they think well, I mean, shit, Jim's crushing it over there with investors and wholesalers and all of those things. Like, I have to do that in order to be successful. Well, you can, but if you're not passionate about investing in real estate and you want to be, not saying that this isn't you, but like this is a little bit of me. I'm not lovey-dovey with people falling in love with the house, right? Like, I don't get the emotions of my forever home. That I'm more like you, of real estate is a tool and an investment, and either makes sense or it doesn't. And based off of your 5-year, 10-year, 15-year plan, it's either a yes or a no.
Yeah.
um, but I think for you, it aligns with some of your passions around the industry.
Yeah. I definitely tend to. I think I'm like you in that I love the emotional part of it, but that's not what drives me. I'm more about the business part of it,
Yeah,
and it doesn't make sense from that aspect. But I do recommend that working with investors is great, but you still need to remain diversified in your lead sources and your client base. For me, I am in a position where I'm not diversified. So it's definitely as I recommend you do what I say, not as I do, and become more diversified in that manner. Because yeah, all of my eggs are in that basket from a client based standpoint. So if that went away, then tomorrow I'd be pounding the phone. I'd be calling my sphere. I'd be working past leads. I'd be doing FISBOs. I'd be doing expireds. I'd be okay. Uh, but right now, I still just focus on investors, and I don't really. I just want to maintain that business because my second focus is our team. So
yeah,
I basically work 2 full-time jobs currently, as I try to support both my personal production and the team side of it.
yeah,
So from a personal production standpoint, I don't really take on new clients at this point. Anything that comes in as a lead that one of my listings generated, or just word of mouth where somebody wants to chat, those opportunities go to our team, because I really just want to maintain where I'm at in my personal production, and over time it'll start to taper off naturally if I'm not adding to it.
sure.
And if mine is remaining steady and then tapering off, but I can help the team start to taper up, then that's where the team side of it will start to offset my personal side.
Well, here's the thing, with your approach too, and I personally always like to have 2 or 3 investors on hand, as clients. Obviously some stop buying, right? Some get tapped out, some move to a different market, all of those things. But with you, I mean, and no matter what's going on in the world or the economy, real estate doesn't stop and there's always investors. It might just look a little bit different, right?
Sure.
There's always people that are going to be buying houses as investment opportunities and all of those things. It may just, our approach might have to change. So I'm curious, getting back in 2015, leaving corporate world, right? You have, probably a salary or a certain set pay, a certain lifestyle, all of those things, family in the future. When you made that switch, going back from security, I'll use that in air quotes, to
Sure.
unsecurity, 100% real estate commission, did you jump in with 2 feet, cut the rope and just go after it in real estate? Did you transition in? And then what were some of the things that you really kind of focus on? I know you said you joined a team, but what did that first couple years of your career look like?
Yeah, I started thinking about what the next step was going to be in 2013. I didn't actually make the change until 2015. So as you can tell, I'm a slow mover in that respect. So yeah, I started thinking about what my future looked like in late 2013, and then as we were planning my exit from the corporate world. Essentially, the one thing I didn't want to do was have to come crawling back asking for my job back, because I didn't make it after 1 month of being a realtor. And so the first step was we wanted to have a nest egg. And so it's always recommended that you have 3 or 4 months of reserves set aside at any given time. um, I wanted to have a year's worth. And so what we focused on, once I decided that this is going to be the next step for me, we focused on building that nest egg where if I didn't make a single dollar within the first year of being in real estate, that I'd still be okay, or we would still be okay. And so we worked on building up that nest egg. We were living in the short north at the time, and ended up moving down to, we cut our rent in half, moved to Marion Village. And so we were saving on rent. I sold my car, got a different car that would save money as well. So we changed our lifestyle a bit that
Okay.
would allow me to get to my exit point faster. And even once we had that year's worth nest egg built up, I still struggled with making the leap, but eventually did go ahead and got everything lined up. Really, what pushed me is that my coursework was about to fully expire, and I would have to take all the classes again in addition to taking the test again.
Yeah.
So that was kind of my drop dead date to get my license back. So I was able to. That's kind of where everything lined up in 2015. I think in April or May-ish 2015 is when I left, got my license back right after that. But yeah, I'm a slow mover. I make decisions quickly, but then I take a long time to actually execute and implement them. But I was able to put that nest egg together and then successfully make the leap.
You mentioned two things that stood out to me in that story of transitioning into the business. One, spousal support. I think
Mhm.
it does not get talked about a lot in our industry. When I met my wife, she was in grad school, and yeah, I mean, even still to this day, we talk about this all the time of like lifestyle, right? Like, being a real estate agent, you're on the go, right? Your nights and weekends, like you mentioned, and if you have, a significant other or someone that, um, has an impact on your life, getting them to be on the same page with what you're about to embark on, I think is key to your success. Obviously, if
Yeah,
you're single and all that, obviously it's just up to you. But again, like, home dynamic, family dynamic, like all of that changes when you become a real estate agent, in my opinion. Now, in the beginning, and then obviously you can build your business up to where you can get some of that freedom and flexibility that we all, go after and chase. But in the beginning, and the second thing that you mentioned there was, and I think we're going to see a little bit more of this, moving forward over the next, 12 months, 18 months, just with the uncertainty of real estate and all of the other stuff going on in the world, is you were willing to change your lifestyle in order to make it into the business. And I know there's going to be agents that are not going to be willing to sacrifice their lifestyle,
hmm
and what they're going to do is sacrifice their business instead. They're going to cut back on the marketing. They're going to cut back on the lead spend. They're going to cut back on, investing into themselves and going to conferences because they want to drive the nicer car or, have the nicer apartment or have the nicer house. And when the real estate market gets hard or there's a pivot and it might get a little bit, tougher for us to go out and connect with people to find clients. I just know agents are going to be cutting back on their business instead of their lifestyle. And I bet that had a huge impact on you giving yourself the freedom and flexibility to go out and figure it out.
Mhm. Yeah, you're right. And when times do get tough, usually the marketing is the first thing that gets cut, but it should be the last thing that gets cut. And as we get into the uncertain times in the near future, that is something that agents have to keep in mind. Is that uh, I like to think about the last housing crisis bubble, where you look at who a lot of the top real estate agents and teams are right now. If you they were in the business back then as well, and most likely, I don't know this for a fact, but most likely what they did is they hunkered down and they stepped on the gas in many scenarios, and they were able to make it through that housing crisis, and they came out on the other side with a ton of market share, and were able to build and scale their businesses. When everyone else was shrinking, they were growing. And I think that something similar could be on the horizon, where instead of dialing back on marketing, step on the gas, increase your market share. And then as we get back into, a more stable market, now you're going to come out on the other side in a much better position. So it's running towards it versus running away from it, and just knowing that if you have the right habits and the right plan, you'll be fine in the end.
Yeah. I view that as if you're not willing to stay invested in your business or invested in yourself, and you're not really willing to double down, and there's a difference between you having the funds to do it versus not. And that's a whole nother topic, right? Are you willing to take out a business loan? Are you willing to take out credit cards to help fuel some of this to get you through? I'm not a financial advisor, but the way I look at it is then you don't necessarily believe in yourself and your abilities, right? Because if you believe in yourself and your abilities, and this is what I tell a lot of new agents getting into the business, if you are self-aware and you believe you have the work ethic and you're true to yourself in that assessment, then you're going to be fine. If you
Yep.
don't believe you have work ethic and um, you have lazy tendencies, then your success will be a little bit more inconsistent. Um, and your business in this time is going to be a direct reflection of that, in my opinion. So
Yeah, and
um
that's where I think teams will continue to emerge as just a dominant force
mhm,
across the industry, because agents that don't have the ability to invest in everything you need to invest in to be successful,
yeah,
you can a team will continue to do that. So we are spending marketing dollars month in, month out, regardless of what commissions we have coming in. So that's where some of those problems of the solo agent can help be alleviated by a team.
yeah. Jim, I kind of want to move forward. I want to switch gears and look to the
Sure.
future of your business and where you want to take things. What's something that you're looking to accomplish here in the next 12 months? You have any goals?
Uh, yeah, I really, my main focus right now is on our team, and how do we best support agents? How do we help them grow their business within our business? There are a lot of initiatives that we have on the horizon, team wise, that we're focusing on. But the other part of it is in the next 12 months, I need to have a laser focus on personally investing in real estate. And it's one thing that I have completely dropped the ball on. And I make excuses on why I don't personally invest, why I don't personally buy rentals, because it's like, Jim, all you do is work with investors, and you don't invest yourself, and you don't buy rentals, and you don't have Airbnbs, and I don't. And I make excuses that I don't have the time. I'm focusing on too many things. I can't add it to my plate. But I've been it's just such a owning real estate is such a benefit in so many ways. From the tax savings alone, it boggles my mind that I haven't put more effort into buying real estate. So over the next 12 months, or actually even over the next 45 days, I'm trying to secure a property and close it by December 31st of this year.
I love it.
And then next year, I really want to start. So in addition to the team, I want to start focusing on my own personal rental portfolio over the next 12 months and beyond. And really my personal production, I just want to maintain. So maintain my personal production, maintain those relationships, and grow the team, grow the value that we provide to them, and then grow my real estate portfolio.
I love it. Something to help you out. Maybe hire an agent to be your investor agent for you to help alleviate the emotional attachment to some of those decisions. I'm like you. I got in originally from the HGTV, wanted to flip homes. That was my era.
Yep.
um, and found out that I just did more real estate sales on the retail side, and then I dabbled in flips here and there, meaning one one or two every couple years. And then just this year, my wife and I, we went out and got
Yeah.
two long-term investments and one Airbnb. And she's probably on the verge of killing me and or divorcing me because I mean, here's the thing though, right? Like, you mentioned, tax saving benefits and all those things. And here's why I say that is because it's stretching us, right? Like it's pushing us outside of our comfort zone. We would be living a little bit more comfortably if we didn't have those things. But I know long term for what our goals are and what we're trying to accomplish, even within the next 15 to 20 years, this pain on the other side of this pain right now is going to be the rewards that we want. And it's the same thing in real estate, right? Like prospecting sucks, but on the other side of
Yeah.
prospecting are your clients, right? Are the rewards, you know, having to stay dedicated and working the late night hours of doing showings. On the other side of that are closings. So I know. So I'm encouraging you. I'm excited for you to. But that might be one thing that you think about, right? Is hey, I need to go have an agent find me the deals and lay out the numbers in front of me, so that way I'm not emotionally attached. It's more of a business transaction, because that might help you with some of that clarity around it.
Yeah, that's a really good thought, and I'm sure that we have agents on our team that would love to start to present deals, not just to
Yeah,
me, but just hey, I found this opportunity because everybody should be. If you're licensed, you should be buying and owning your own real estate as well.
yeah,
So that's definitely something I'm gonna chew on and see if I can push our team members to start to
yeah,
bring opportunities to the team. And yeah,
yeah.
if it's something that makes sense, then maybe one of our team members can jump on it too.
That's awesome, Jim. What's a 5 year goal for you? What's something you want to do in 5 years?
My overarching top of mind theme is just time. I want to get more of my time back. Time is free, but it's priceless, they say. And having a 5-year-old and a 7-year-old, so that pretty soon they're or even right now they're going to be at the point where they're just doing so much in their lives, and I've only got them where they're going to like me until they're what 14, 15, 16, something like that. So time is really ticking away for me right now. It's something that really weighs heavily on me, that I want to make sure that I am not only available to watch them grow up, but that I'm present as well.
Mhm.
So when you're the hustle and bustle of real estate and owning your own business and working two full-time jobs essentially, that creates a ton of distractions that I want to just figure out how to better manage them, how to alleviate them so that I can be present Because in many cases, I might be at gymnastics practice, but if I'm on my phone and
Yeah.
I've got something in the back of my mind an issue that I'm dealing with at work, then I'm not able to be present in the moment with my family. So
Yeah.
that's actually an immediate goal, but it is my 5-year goal as well, that I am doing the right things. I'm starting to look at additional streams of income that I can just buy more and more of my time back and focus on family. So I want to do that through building a real estate team. Uh, Passive income through real estate. So I put it in
Mhm.
quotes because it's never passive. Owning rentals, you know it right now.
Yeah.
So doing things that are outside of just my personal production, because right now my personal production, if I stop, everything stops.
Yeah.
So I want to look at different avenues to be able to just continue to allow me to create more and more time for myself, not for myself, but for my family.
Sure. Sure. Um, what's a legacy goal for you? What's something that you're trying to accomplish or hit when you're no longer here?
That's also something I've been thinking. I just turned 40, so you start to have all these like you go through that next phase of where your priorities shift again. Your what's important, when you were 25 is no longer important to you, and so from a legacy standpoint, that is something else that I'm pretty focused on right now. Is how do I uh, one thing that I think is missing in most people's lives is financial literacy. You don't really
Mhm.
learn too much about it in high school. You don't really learn too much about it in college, unfortunately. And a lot of it happens on like YouTube. YouTube's the best university ever created.
Yeah.
And so I think there is a big lack in financial literacy and financial planning when you're young. So I'm looking at things right now for my daughters, that how can I help mold them into financially literate adults, but what can I start doing right now to invest on their behalf that they could be functionally retired by the time they're 30.
Yeah.
If I'm able to, so when I look at my own rental portfolio, I'm actually thinking about not just for my family, but what is something that I can start to build and then pass on to my daughters that would allow them to uh, focus on what they're passionate about. So to me, it's like if one of my kids wants to be an artist and that's what they're passionate about, I'm guessing there's probably not a ton of money in being an artist, but if it's something that they're really passionate about, how can I help them allow them focus on what makes you happy, what you're passionate about? And I've built this, and you will continue to build it. Something that will help to allow you to focus on your passions instead of focusing on how do I make ends meet, how do I make money in a job that I don't love. So my legacy is how do I pass on education about business and financial literacy, and then how do I also start investing for them now at the age of 5, so that by the time they're 30, 40, 50, they're set.
I love that. Jim, one last final question for you. Um, if you could give our audience one piece of advice that either you wish you had or that you received, or
Mhm.
one that you always give out to real estate agents, what would that be?
If I could talk to young Jim when he first got his license back in 2015, what I would tell him is that I would help myself get over call reluctance,
Mm.
and I would instill that you need to prospect like crazy. If I were starting over today and knew what I knew now, I would really focus on prospecting. It's something that I was uncomfortable with as a brand new agent, and it was a skill that I was scared to develop. That 900-pound phone for some reason is just so hard to pick up, and I know it's something that is it kind of plagues the industry, just because as humans we have that fear of rejection or objection. I don't know what to say if they say this, and so what we end up doing is we text instead, we email instead. But what I would tell myself is, you need to pick up that darn phone. If you do it 100 times, you'll be so much better at it. And do it 100 more times. Now you're an expert, and do it 100 more times, and there's nothing that's going to throw you off. And it's like any other skill, you just get better and better at it over time, but it all starts with picking up that phone the first time. And for me, that is not something that I knew right away. It's not something I understood. It's not something I learned. It took me a long time to really get comfortable on the phone. So I think I would have had traction a lot faster. I would have been my growth and success would have been accelerated if I would have focused on picking up the phone, not being afraid of it, and prospecting when I first got licensed.
Couldn't agree more. I mean, that was well said. Um, Call reluctancy is real,
Yep.
and what I've noticed here recently in my conversations with agents is it's around this preconceived answer that we're putting on these leads before we ever call them. I prospect 9 to 10, so I was just making calls this morning, and as I was going through the list today, right, I was like, oh, I just called that person last month. I'm going to call them again, but why am I calling them again? Because I just called them last month, right? Like those are the things that run through our heads, right? And the
Yep.
agents that can get over that faster and just say, nope, making the dial. Nope, making the dial. I'm going to have the conversation. Not putting those answers on the leads before they ever answer the phone is key to that call reluctancy. And I love what you just said, and I really enjoyed our conversation today, and obviously getting to learn a little bit more about your journey and what you're trying to do and accomplish. And Jim's phone number has been at the bottom, so if you guys are buyers, sellers, investors here in Central Ohio, please reach out to him and his team. If you guys are real estate agents and you have connected with his story and just want to pick his brain or talk to him about joining his team, make sure you guys reach out to him. His number's down below. But for Jim, those that are listening in, maybe not watching, what's the best way for someone to connect with you?
Yeah, and thanks again for having me on. I really enjoyed the conversation as well. The best way to get connected with me is you can shoot me a message on Facebook or Instagram, and just pull up my name, Jim Ross, on Facebook, and then I think I'm at Jimbo Ross Realtor on Instagram. My direct cell phone number is 614-289-7355. So feel free to give me a shout there. And then just one other thing is that as I start to continue to reflect on where I've been and where I'm at currently, one thing I do want to start to focus on is, how do I give back to the industry more and pay it forward a little bit. So I definitely want to put myself out there as a resource to anybody that is listening, that if there's anything I can do to be of assistance in your business, I don't care what brokerage you're with, I don't care what team you're on. If there is anything that I can do to be of service, please don't hesitate to reach out.
I hope you guys watching or listening take him up on that offer, because he, in Central Ohio is one of the top teams and agents in our marketplace. So, that is a wealth of knowledge and information that was just given to you guys. So make sure you guys hit up Jim. But Jim, thanks so much again for jumping on here and taking some time out of your morning to join me and to share your journey. And if I can ever, do anything for you and help you out, please reach out. I'm here to help any way I can.
Yeah, absolutely. And likewise, I'm sure I'll hit you up. I've been very impressed with your success as well. So congratulations on everything.
Thank you. Thank you. And we'll talk soon.
All right. Thank you.
All right. See ya.
See ya.